Hi, I'm attorney Kelly Longtin from Kelly Longtin Law. Welcome to our YouTube channel. And today I want to talk to you about naming a guardian for your minor child or children. Now, I know it's difficult and even horrific to imagine someone else raising your children. However, you must consider who you would choose to fill that important role. Otherwise, a judge, a stranger who doesn't know anything about you or your wishes or your child or your relatives and your friends will determine who raises your children if something happens to you. Now, depending on state law, your children's guardian could be a relative that you do not get along with, or less commonly, a stranger that you may have never even met. Now, no one will ever be you or parent exactly like you. More than likely, however, someone you know could do a decent job providing for your children's welfare, education, and medical needs if you can no longer do so. Parents with minor children must name someone to raise their children in the event that both parents die or are otherwise unable to care for them before their children become adults. While the likelihood of you and the children's other parent both passing away or becoming unable to parent your children is slim, the consequences of not naming a guardian can be severe and are well worth contemplating and addressing. If no guardian is nominated within your will or that separate writing, if it's recognized and allowable in your state, a judge will decide who raises your child. Anyone can ask to be considered, and the judge will select the person that they deem to be most appropriate. Now, families tend to fight over the custody of children when a loved one dies, especially if there's money involved. Now, on the other hand, if you name a guardian, the judge will likely support your choice as long as the individual that you select is willing and able to take on the responsibility of raising your children. So, how do you go about choosing a guardian? Your children's guardian can be any individual that you feel comfortable with, whether they're a relative or a friend. Now, I want to talk about some factors that our clients have considered when selecting guardians or even backup guardians. One is how well the children and potential guardian know one another and whether they enjoy spending time together. You also want to think about parenting style, moral values, education level, health practices, and religious or spiritual beliefs. Now, where the guardian lives, is it far away from where your children would have to move from familiar schools and friends and neighborhood to a new and unfamiliar location? You also want to consider the age and health of the candidates you have for guardian. Now, grandparents may have the time, but they may not have the energy to keep up with a toddler or a teenager. And an older guardian may become ill or pass away before a child is grown, so your child could potentially face the loss of an additional parental figure. A younger guardian, especially a sibling, may be too focused on establishing their own lives, especially if they're finishing college or starting a career. Now, I want to give a big warning. Serving as a guardian and raising your children is a huge deal. So you don't want to spring this responsibility on anyone without speaking with them about your expectations and ensuring that they're willing and prepared to take on this role. Asking your top candidates if they would be willing to serve and ensure you name at least two alternates if your first choice cannot serve. So you want to make sure you have a backup plan. Now, raising your children should not be a financial burden for the guardian, and a candidate's lack of finances should not be the deciding factor. Ideally, you can provide enough money from your accounts and property and life insurance to provide for your children after you pass away. Now, some parents also earmark funds to help the guardian buy a larger car or house or build an addition onto their existing home. So there's plenty of room for taking on the responsibility and addressing the needs of extra children. Now, there's some additional factors that you want to consider when deciding who manages your children's money. In some circumstances, naming a person separate from the guardian to manage your children's inheritance may be a good idea. That person would fill the role of your successor trustee and manage the money and property set aside for your children in a trust designed for them. The guardian would be responsible for the day-to-day raising of the children. Under appropriate circumstances, having the same person raise the children and handle the money can simplify things because the guardian would not have to ask someone else to make distributions for your children's benefits. Now, in some situations, the best person to raise your children may not be the best person to handle the money, and it may be tempting for them to use this money for their own purposes. So dividing the responsibilities may be particularly beneficial, and avoid the misuse of any money that you leave for your children's benefit. Now I know that thinking about death or your potential inability to care for your child is not easy, but don't let that stop you from creating a proactive plan to address the unexpected. Now, I'm happy to talk to you about this difficult topic if you live in Massachusetts or New Hampshire, and to work with you to legally document your wishes so that they're enforceable at your death. So understand that you're not bound to your initial selection. You can change your mind and select a different guardian at any time. The chances of actually needing the guardian to step in are usually slim, and we always hope that this is the one nomination that is never needed. However, your job as a parent is to provide for and protect your children. So begin planning for them by working with your estate planning attorney to make sure that you have addressed their care for a situation where you may not be able to care for them yourself and they're still minors. So please like and subscribe our page below to keep up to date on estate planning topics and how it can benefit you and your family. I'm attorney Kelly Longtin from Kelly Longtin Law.